One of the most important things that you can do is learn how to manage your time. And I will say it point blank, most humans are horrific with time management. If I were to follow most of you around and there was a camera crew at all hours of the day, you waste an insane amount of time scrolling social media, not focused, bouncing around. We're all a bunch of fucking neurotic freaks, just suck at time management, right? But one thing I was able to do pretty good back then, and now I'm obsessive about, is manage the time.
How you guys doing? Arne here with another episode of the Community and Conversions Show. And as always, bringing you some awesome community leaders who have incredible stories, incredible knowledge. And Nik, I feel like I've interviewed you like 3 times already. And every time the audience is always loving it. So glad to have you back, man.
I love it, man. I feel like, yeah, we've been on an every year, every other year pace. We've known each other for quite some time now. I think our first interview was back in probably late 2017,
Community leaders.
2018.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excited to be here, though.
Way
Super
back,
pumped.
huh?
What's that?
Way back. When did
Way
we
back.
originally link up? Was that through Dan Henry stuff? I forget.
I don't even know, bro. I don't even know. I'm sure it was indirectly via Dan. I know that he had a huge committee that connected. I came from the Billie Jean world. He was the one who originally introduced me to Facebook ads, not Dan. I think those are like 2 of the biggest guys to get people into the world. But we probably connected via Semo or some other way, but it's been several years, man. But excited to be back here. Excited to drop some knowledge, share some good stuff with your community. Always love speaking to your group.
No doubt, no doubt. It's gonna be a good one. And I remember well, in one of the previous interviews, I think it was some of the most mind-blowing stuff was because even though I'd known you for a while, I'd never knew those parts of your story, and that really blew my mind, especially about kind of how you got your start. And yeah, you got all these awesome awards and all this successful agency and all the stuff you built up. But when you got started, it was obviously very far from that. So you want to just take us back a little bit on kind of how you got into the agency space?
Yeah. So in late 2015, I was working in the NFL. I was a sales rep for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'll never forget this day. I was given my estimated W-2 for the year, and it was $43,000. I was the number 1 sales rep on an NFL franchise, and the next closest individual was I had outsold by 40%. 40%, like a lot. It wasn't even close. And there were 16 people on the staff. Okay. And $43,000 including commissions. Right around that same time, I would coached one of my friends, her name is Belinda, on getting a job that had a base pay of 50K in sales, base. And I was like, man, I was working like 70 hours a week. I'd been working in pro sports for like 4 years at that point, and it was a great experience, but it's time to move. And that same winter, it's funny how serendipity always works. That same winter, my buddy, a couple of buddies, but one in particular, flew out and we got hammered over New Year's. And he was like, bro, I can start my own business. And he'd already started a business in the past. I was like, oh, maybe we could do this. He's like, I just need a sales rep. And I'm like, cool, I'm in. Literally moved in 3 weeks from Tampa, Florida on the beach to Utah. I'd never been to Utah before I moved there, and started the agency. And we're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be sunshine and rainbows. And then we realized I didn't know how to get leads. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know anything about online marketing. Didn't know about a website. And we literally went an entire freaking year before I made my first sale. 1 year, right? To the point where I was emailing, cold calling. I was in a BNI group with 70 different business owners, and I made the goal. I'm going to meet with every single one of these business owners, all 70 of them over like a 3 or 4 month period, because there was a lot of business owners. And I was driving to meet individually in person. 0 sales. I couldn't even sell a $1,500 website or a $499 a month SEO package. And it was brutal, man. It was brutal. At the time, to keep myself going, we got $30,000 in debt, focused on the wrong things. We were buying websites that we didn't need. We were buying logos we didn't need and a bunch of crap. And it's just, it was not an easy time, but looking back, it was a very powerful time to prepare me for what's to come. And I was also gambling at the time, not gambling. I was playing daily fantasy sports, NBA and NFL, FanDuel and DraftKings for my folks who know that stuff. And literally, I remember charging $2,000 on a credit card, and I lived off like $1,000 a month that I was eking out gambling every night. And every night, I remember this so clearly now. Like I would go outside and just like pray that LeBron James wouldn't miss a free throw, because then I'd lose my whole bankroll and I'd have to go get a job the next day, man. But eventually, we hit some traction in about a year later, and really exploded after that.
Nice. Love it. That's gotta be stressful. In the juggling of things. I know that gets people caught up is like, oh, they haven't caught the traction yet on this other thing, so they keep getting pulled into job, or in your case betting, or whatever it is. How can people kind of better navigate that transition while they're still figuring out the whole agency game?
Yep, you have to be able to structure your day. And this is whether you're a beginning entrepreneur or advanced entrepreneur. One of the most important things that you can do is learn how to manage your time. And I will say it point blank, most humans are horrific with time management. If I were to follow most of you around and there was a camera crew at all hours of the day, you waste an insane amount of time scrolling social media, not focused, bouncing around. We're all a bunch of fucking neurotic freaks, just suck at time management, right? But one thing I was able to do pretty good back then, and now I'm obsessive about, is manage the time. So basically from 5 a.m. when I woke up until about 2 in the afternoon was work time. It was structured. Right around 2:30, I'd take a quick break. 3 o'clock, I'd start reading statistics because I wasn't gambling just to gamble. I was actually using modeling and projections and statistical analysis. And my cousin is a professional gambler, and it wasn't, so gambling has such a negative connotation, but it's also a profession, and he was part of the profession. And so we took it very seriously. And I would study those from about 3 until 9. I'd get up and do the same thing over and over again, right? And so it really comes down to just time blocking and making sure that when you're focused, you're actually focused. Because at the end of the day, most humans, if you actually just got 2 to 3 focused hours of work done a day, you're infinitely more productive than everyone else. Because most people are just bouncing around all day long, checking websites. I guarantee there's people watching this right now who are listening, but on a different website, or scrolling social media and thinking they're doing the same thing at the same time. And our brain is just not built to function like that. And we're not going to be as strong as we are. So if you're trying to balance 2 things, structure your time. And when it's time to work, it's time to work. Tell the family, hey, I need to get to work. If you only have 2 or 3 hours a day and you're just getting started on a consulting business, agency, whatever it is that you're doing to make money, you've got to carve out that time first. And that time's got to be directed and focused. And you have to know what you're going to do before you go into that time.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, people don't realize even just 1 hour of put the cell phone away, do one task. It's awesome. Like we call them power hours.
100%. I do 4 of them a day, and I basically deep work sessions. One of the most powerful books I ever read was actually called Deep Work. It's by Cal Newport. It's phenomenal. 2 books that every entrepreneur needs to read, in my opinion, are Deep Work and Essentialism. Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and Deep Work by Cal Newport. I do 4 60-minute sessions a day, sometimes 90-minute sessions, depending on what's going on. And I'll tell you right now, just getting rid of your phone for an hour is going to freak most of you out. Like, I challenge you guys to pick up your phone, go to your pickup screen where you can see in the settings where you see how many times you pick up your phone a day. The average person's picking up their phone like 271 times a day. It's like, the fuck? No wonder you're not focused on anything.
I don't even want to look, but I'm curious.
Yeah, look it up. And the key to winning in entrepreneurship long-term, and really just being happy in life, almost, in my opinion, like, this is more than just making money. It's about being happy, is the ability to focus and actually stay present in the present moment. And if you are a slave to your phone, if you're a slave to your social media, you will not be happy, and you're destined to be just a scroller and not get done what you want to get done. Right. Yep. And when it comes to digital, specifically on social media and scrolling, like, another amazing book by Cal Newport is called Digital Minimalism. And the idea of it is just taking control of your tech. Now, the one thing that I would want to ask you guys, right? Because a lot of us are like, I need to be on social media for my business or this or that. Like, when you look back on your life, when was the last time that you're like, damn, that was a good night of scrolling, man? I'm so happy I spent the whole night scrolling Instagram. Like, never, right? That's not what makes us happy. It's done in the instant. It's done as a quick instant gratification. So the more that we can learn to resist that, the more that we can learn to structure our time, structure our focus, you're going to be infinitely more powerful as an entrepreneur, as well as a human being. And you're going to freak people out when you're in presence with them and you're not pulling your phone out every 5 minutes and you're just actually present in the conversation in the moment. It's going to freak people out, but it's going to be in a good way. So that's one of the first things I always tell anybody who comes into my world to do, whether in a coaching program or one of my teams, is like, you got to get control of your social media. I don't care who you are. I don't care what it looks like. There's a 99% chance that you're a complete addict right now. You need to admit that. And we need to set up rules around your phone. Like, I don't have Slack on my phone. I don't have email on my phone. Phone goes on airplane mode. It doesn't even go in the bedroom with me. Like, there's a lot of rules that I have that need to happen in order for me to stay thinking clearly so I can get stuff done.
100%. Yeah. And it's so interesting because a lot of times, especially on this show, we bring people on who have these killer achievements and killer status X, Y, and Z. And then it always turns into like habits and mindset. Like, okay, how'd you do it? Oh, well, Had to get my mind right. Oh, well, had to get productive. Oh, I had to set up
Listen
the
to
day.
that. If you are somebody who is resistant to the idea that the only thing that's going to matter to your outcomes in life is your habits and your mindset. I could give you all the tactics in the world, but if you aren't prepared to actually get down to business and do the damn thing, you're never going to get where you want to go. And there's a reason why you hear that over and over and over again, because it's the truth. Looking back, like if I'm telling my former self that, or team members or anybody, it's all about habits mindset. That's the first thing we got to clean up. How's your daily routine? How's your mindset? Do you have confidence? Are you doing actively working your personal development? And what does your habitual routine look like? Because you are your habits at the end of the day. I mean, shit, Aristotle said this shit like 4,000 years ago. Excellence is not an act. It is a habit. You know what I mean? Like it's not a new concept either.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. So, and that just really levels up everything else. Because if you got bad habits, but you're only really working an hour a day, he could tell you all the strategies that he's got, and you only got an hour to do it. But if you multiply that, and like you said, if you only do 4 super focused hours a day, cool. There's 4 times as much production as most people do.
Way more. 100%, man. Most people just don't know how to work. And I say that with ultimate respect. I didn't know how to work until recently. And honestly, compared to some people, I still don't know how to work. Right. But most people just don't know how to work at all. Right. We're checking our phones. And so like, I encourage you to just put your phone away, or at least get the Freedom app on your phone and lock yourself out of it's an app that you can lock yourself out of social media, things like
It's
that.
called Freedom.
Yeah, it's called Freedom. I use Block Site on my web browser to ensure that I don't go to any, distracting websites, and try an hour without your addictions or the things that you find yourself constantly, neurotically checking or going back to or picking up. Right. And you'll see at first, wow, I was an addict, because you're going to reach for it indirectly. Right. Like in another, challenge I always play people is like, go out for a day and just don't bring your phone, and watch how often you reach in your pocket for your phone. Especially if you're a guy. I can't speak for a girl. It's a little different, right? But like if you're a guy, like I like freak out. I'm like, oh, I left my phone. Oh, it's gone. Like, and then you realize the amount of times that you're pulling that damn thing out. And you're like, shit, man, I'm a slave to this thing,
Yep. So what are some other ways to kind of break that habit?
Yeah. So honestly, the biggest way to do it is set rules. You got to set rules around technology. Honestly, in my opinion, in this day and age, when we have access to everything, we can have all the food that we want. We can get all the drugs that we want these days. You can buy whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. We have to set rules and boundaries, and discipline's what's going to bring you the freedom that you're looking for. And so you need to have rules around your technology and how you use it. When are you okay with using Facebook? I'm not saying don't scroll Facebook ever, don't scroll Instagram ever, or people are like, oh, the biggest thing I get from this, oh, well, I got to do it for my business. It's like, cool, so do I. But like, are you using it as a supplier or using it as a consumer? If you're using it as a consumer, then you're not actually getting anything from it. But if you're using it as a supplier, sure, get in, make your posts, get out, right? And so, because there is money can be made on social media, no question about it. Like it's a phenomenal tool. That's just what it is, a tool. So you got to set rules, right? And so you got to also figure out what your biggest triggers are. So for me, for example, I never really had a problem scrolling Facebook or scrolling Instagram. Right. Some of my big problems was scrolling Twitter and, looking at stupid political crap, so I had to cut myself off from that. Another thing that I would always do is I would check Slack and email incessantly on my phone. So I removed those from my phone. I haven't had Instagram or Facebook on my phone for a long time. So that for me personally, that's not a huge problem. Everyone has their own vice depending on what it is. And so you got to set rules around it. When are you going to do it and plan? Okay. Like one of the biggest things I can tell people is you've got to plan your day, and you've got to plan when you're going to be doing stuff for your time, or else you're just going to be pulled in multiple different directions and you're going to feel like you have no control over your life. The first step to taking control of your life is planning your day and making sure that you stick to that plan. And so setting rules around social media, setting rules about this stuff is huge. I actually have a YouTube video on my YouTube channel where it's the 30-day challenge. It's pretty aggressive, but it's a 30-day challenge. It's almost like a big detox. And it essentially gets you eating clean 6 days a week, no alcohol for a full 30 days. I know both of us could talk a lot about alcohol in our past, right? And no social media except for 1 hour a day of social media max, right? And there's a few other things as well that can really help clean up your habits and get you in a good mood. Every time that we actually just finished up in June a $500 buy-in in my mastermind where everyone had to pay $500. And if you lose, then you have to donate the $500 to the pot, and the winners get to keep all of it. Right. And without question, I've been running this on and off. So I got to give you guys on and off every couple months for the last, year and a half since I've had the mastermind. And without question, people end up having the best months, relationships get better, business gets better. It's amazing what can happen when you start to put some rules around your life. And it's weird because people look at me and they're like, oh man, don't you want to live? And I'm like, dude, like, yeah, I do. But tell me, how fulfilled are you from being addicted to your phone or drugs or alcohol or food, right? Like how much fulfillment comes from that? Like, don't get me wrong. I love ice cream. I love some fried chicken, like chicken nuggets and chicken strips are my favorite thing of all time. Right. But like, is it in the moment or do I delay gratification? Because delaying gratification is where the true contentment and happiness and fulfillment that we're all chasing comes from. We just live in a world where it's so easy to get anything we want instantly gratified. And it's no wonder why we live in just ridiculous amounts of depression, anxiety, freak outness, all that stuff. And it's because everyone's addicted to instant gratification, right? I'm not going to pretend to be a mental health expert by any stretch of the imagination. However, I can tell you right now that those things are not helping.
100%. And I remember, I forget who this came from, but it really got hit home by my CEO, Jacob, and Katya Sarmiento, if you know them.
Oh, yeah.
Around systems equals freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that people think systems is something that's going to bind them to something that they don't want to do, or it's going to take too much discipline. But there's freedom in systems, and knowing that, okay, if this is part of my routine that I get to create, now I'm free to build whatever that looks like. I get to create exactly how I want to live and stick to it and reap the rewards. And yeah, it is, you know, short term, it's going to be harder. Long term, that's what opens a lot of the doors that you don't have open for you, that you got those shiny awards sitting behind you and you got another big one coming. So congratulations on that one, by the way. You want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, we just got approved for the 10X award. So I'm pretty excited because I could have got, we could have applied for a few more of these, but I was like, two's enough. But we got the 10X award. So I'm pretty excited about that. We've got that coming. We're going to get there. We'll be at Funnel Hacking Live, on stage. I just got the email accepted. So pretty pumped on that one.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a goal of mine forever, right? Like, sure, it's just an award. And some people go, ClickFunnels this. It's like, Russell Brunson's probably the best marketer of our generation, of our time, right? You know, you got the Dan Kennedys and stuff before him, but like Russell Brunson is the absolute king of this stuff. And it's very cool because we've been gunning for this for quite a while, and to be able to reach it is pretty awesome. And to be honest, the reason why we're able to do it is because of the discipline, right? So you say systems equals freedom. Jocko is where I originally got the idea of, discipline equals freedom, right? And it's true. Discipline does equal freedom. Like, people can look at, my lifestyle and I can kind of do whatever I want whenever, but that's only because of the discipline for year after year. And so if I want to fuck off for a day, it's fine, right? Now, what's weird about it is if I fuck off for a day, I'm like, man, I should be working, I should be doing stuff, which is a whole different discussion. But yeah, systems discipline, it's the key to this whole game.
100%. And that's funny. And I think that's a good topic for people like us that love working so much, is like the work guilt, where like even like 4th of July weekend, like the Friday I traveled back from the States, and then Saturday and Sunday I went camping, had a blast, loved it. And by Monday I was like, I'm just ready to build some stuff. Like, let's go. Just hyped up to get back into it. So how do you kind of balance that of like, wanting to create your own life, but still knowing, hey, I got to step up and do what it takes to keep building this company?
It's a great question. And it's something that I've really struggled with over the years because I have an extremely addictive personality. A decade ago, I was getting arrested for DUIs, and I'd been arrested multiple times in 3 months, or in 3 times in 18 months, for drug and alcohol related offenses, massive addiction problems, poly drug abuse since I was younger. And I've always been kind of an all or nothing individual. And I shifted that addiction from, getting high to work. And some could say it's unhealthy, but it's like, I don't know if it was probably good to move that addiction to work and working out and all that. So this is something that's very near and dear to my heart because I hardly took a day off for like 4 years, right? Like, very rarely, maybe Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, right? But I sacrificed everything, I sacrificed weekends, sacrificed a lot of stuff. And it's funny because even at the time, people are like, come on, live a little, let's go. Those same people are asking me for jobs right now, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, it's one of those things. The sacrifice for me at first was difficult, but I was connected to a larger vision and of, freedom in the long term and true financial security and being able to do what I want. And over time, what I've learned in regards to balancing it, because my fiance Sema, and you know her really well, she's very similar to me. We're both very like driven, and that's why we can, work. So as we do take one day off a week, I think that's really important. I also have pretty strict cutoff times for when I do stop working. I I have strict cutoff times for no Slack and no email. And I also look to take, vacation, weekend every other week or every other month. I'm sorry. And it allows me to recuperate and recharge and really come back, like you said, with a lot more energy. And here's the other thing. One thing I've also spent a lot of time grappling with is the work will never be done. And I just need to understand that and realize it. The work's never finished. My ideas are now, I'm a creator, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a dreamer, whatever, right? And it's always going to be there. I can't look at something and not think about how to monetize it. Like it's just not in my nature anymore, And so learning and realizing that the work's always going to be there and everything's always going to be okay. Like this is one of the big things as well. So that's why I'm so big on personal development. I'm very big in the spiritual aspect of things and books about the mind and realizing that like all suffering is internal. Like one of the quotes I always think about and share with everybody is 99% of your suffering happens within your imagination. When people are freaking out or they're really upset, I ask them, can you look around the room and show me where the suffering is? Right? It only exists one place, in here. And so I focus an enormous amount of time cultivating a great relationship with myself through meditation and Wim Hof breathing and just positive thinking and auto-suggestion and that type of stuff. And that's really helped a ton with being, okay, it's okay if I don't work today, right? And I've also learned that taking time off actually helps you work even harder if you come back, as long as you don't show up hungover or whatever. And that's part one. And the other side of the thing, and this is something that I want to share with everyone, and I always like to talk about because I know it's an epidemic in this day and age, and I would bet money you've dealt with this as well, is comparison games, right? So comparison is the pathway to unhappiness. And I think it was Ed Milet who I had heard that from. And I was like, that is so unbelievably genius. You are only unhappy if you're comparing your current situation to a different situation that you want differently. I encourage people to think about that. And a lot of times as we're scrolling our Facebook, we might see peers, friends, others, people we hate, people we think are scammers, people we don't like, whatever, posting big numbers or big, whatever. And we're like, man, why don't I have those numbers? Or I should be there. Or I can't believe that person's making that type of money. And we beat ourselves up inside when in reality, it doesn't matter. We're all competing with ourselves. Right. So that's one thing I've learned to really release as well, because that game will never end. Some of you guys might be comparing yourselves to people making 10K a month. I found myself comparing people to making 100 million. I'm like, I did 10 million. Fuck it. I need 100. Like the game never ends. Like, you know what I mean? It just never ends. And so realizing that and really settling with that, as well as developing a relationship internally with myself and cultivating that, has been the biggest ways I deal with that, because it is I don't want to say it's a problem, because I don't like that word, but it's definitely an issue for me. It's difficult for me to stop working.
Yeah, 100%. Especially because it lights us up. Dude, it's like
happiness
fun.
Comes from it. Growth. What if you want to be happy, set a goal and hit it. Like it's been said for ages. It's for thousands of years. I think it was in all the great books, all the spiritual books across the world. They talk about how true happiness and contentment comes from growth, right? And Earl Nightingale, I think, said it best that I've ever heard is success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. You get up in the morning, you work towards something. That's what makes people happy. If you look around at life, nature, all of it, we're seeking to grow, right? A lot of us are like, oh man, I just want all this money so I can sit around and, bang chicks and, drink booze all day. It's like, that's not going to bring you happiness long-term. Sure, it could be fun in the moment, right? But like, it's not going to bring you happiness long-term. What does is building something, growing, reaching goals. It doesn't matter what that goal is. Like you don't need to run $100 million business or a $10 million business. You don't even need to run $1 million business. I know plenty of people who are making 20K a month, taking home 15, happy as hell. Great. That's a great life, Yeah,
true that. And a lot of people that get too caught up in that where they're doing the work, they're showing up, they're following all the stuff, but they're not okay with not having an end in sight. If you know what I mean. They're like, I have to, and it stresses them the hell out. So it seems like, you've done a lot of different work around being more okay with knowing, hey, the work's always.
Let's talk about that really quick, because I want to use an analogy, because that's actually a really good point. This idea of this, I'll be happy when. I need to have this end game. I need to get here. I'll be happy when. And you know why we feel that way? It's been ingrained in us since we were 3 years old. You know why? We go to kindergarten. What happens after kindergarten? We graduate, we go to first grade. What happens after first grade? We graduate, we go to second grade, all the way on through high school. And then we get a job and then we're supposed to be happy. We were taught from a very young age as children that there is a succession plan, that there is an end game. But the reality is there is no end game. Wherever you go, there you are. We're right here, right? And so I like to use that as a thought exercise to let people know, like, hey, like, if you're not happy now, you ain't going to be happy 6 months from now, you know, or a year from now, if you reach those goals. Right. And I get it. Like if you're, you know, can't pay your bills and you're about to be put on the street, like, sure, that's going to cause some internal stress for the moment. But like, let's say you're making 10K a month. You're like, oh, I'll be happy when I'm making 50. If you're not happy at 10K, you're not gonna be happy at 50. I'll tell you right now, even when I was broke doing the gambling stuff, like I was still always deep down knew I was doing the right thing because I was in control and I wanted to always take control of my life. And so like, you want to make sure that you're content in every level and that you aren't waiting for a specific number in order to allow yourself to be happy, because I got news for you. Regardless, you're not going to believe me right now, a lot of people who are hearing this, but I promise you that if you're not happy now, you won't be happy then.
Yep. 100%. So what I know you've done like a million things of personal development, but what are some of the big ones that you want to shout out? Any kind of books or speakers?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So there's two main books, and the first one I'm going to say with the caveat because it is very out there and it's not for everybody. I'm just going to throw it out there, but I have to because it's the book that really had a massive, I mean, there's a lot of books that have massive input, but this one more so than anything else, because it was given to me a week after I got my DUI when I was 23 years old. And I was just, you know, really struggling and mentally and in life. And that was A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And it's a very out there spiritual based book, but that book completely revolutionized my world. I could only read like 3 pages at a time, barely understood what he was saying, but it connected with me on levels that I can never express. And I remember walking across the college campus at that time and just looking at, like, I've never looked at the world the same since then. The other book, and this other individual who's probably had the biggest impact in my life is Tony Robbins, Uncle T. Awaken the Giant Within, I also read when I was in college, was one of the best books I've ever read. I've listened to probably every Tony Robbins audio that exists. I've been to Date with Destiny. I've been to Business Mastery. I've been to UPW multiple times. I'm about to go to UPW again in November. And everything that he teaches, preaches, all the free stuff has had an enormous impact on the way I view the world, the way I view reality, and has given me tremendous internal strength in order to stay and live in a beautiful state and to have the energy to go out there and make things happen, you know? And so those are my biggest ones. I've got a whole boatload, but like just listen to everything by Tony Robbins and pick up the, you know, A New Earth and all that stuff. It's great books by Eckhart Tolle. He's got a couple of them. And then another amazing book that is kind of like A New Earth, but it's easier read is Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And that's one of my favorites. And that's a very deep mental mindset book. And yeah, like, and those are 2 different ways of looking at things. The Eckhart Tolle, the Michael Singers, they take more of the spirituality approach. But if that doesn't vibe with you, and I get it, doesn't vibe with everyone if you're new, Tony Robbins just lays it out for you and just teaches you in a very mainstream, easily digestible, easily understandable way that you can go out there and take shit happen. And so those 2 would be my the biggest impacts on my life. But there's been so many. I mean, I've probably read 1,000 1,200 personal development books. I mean, I try and read a book every week or every other week. And I've listened to, you know, almost every night before I fall asleep, I listen to Alden Earl Nightingales and all that type of stuff. And so I obsess over it because personal development is the key to happiness. Like if you want to be happy, like go inward. It sounds cliche. You've probably heard other people say it before, but I promise you happiness comes from within, and it comes from learning how to take control of your mind and your dominant thought patterns, because happiness is nothing except for a way of thinking, right? Unless you have some sort of illness that's actually internalizing and hurting the body, the only thing that brings you unhappiness is your thoughts. And if you don't know how to control your thoughts, you're never gonna be able to control your happiness. And so you got to start with understanding how to control your thoughts. And the answers are out there in books, and there's ways that you can go about these things and all these tools and strategies, but most people aren't searching for that. And we sure as hell weren't taught it in school or brought it up ever, because I don't know why, but I mean, I kind of do. If you think about it, here's one last rant. And I ran a lot, as you can tell, right? But like one other thing I want to say is like,
you guys like Nick's rants? Let me know in the comments.
Don't listen to people who don't have what you want. Okay. One of the biggest problems in the world today is you got a bunch of motherfuckers spouting off about all kinds of shit. When you look at the stats, most people are broke, depressed, overweight, anxious, have no idea how to run their lives and letting their lives run them. And they're out there just spouting opinions as if they're facts on things. Do not listen to anybody who is not getting the results that you want in any area of your life. I don't care how much you love your parents. If your parents are broke, don't listen to them. When it comes to money, don't listen to them. In fact, try and do anything you can to remove the subconscious shit that they put in your brain from when you were a child that probably fucks you up about money. right? And the same thing with people who are angry or upset. Don't listen to them talk about personal development, right? So like I've had friends or people like, oh, Tony Robbins, he's such a scammer. These same people are fucking angry and can't control their emotions. So I'm like, I'm not going to listen to you. Like, you know what I mean? And so realize that most people aren't getting the results that you want, and don't listen to them. And so we get so screwed up by our family, our friends. Guarantee there's people watching this, especially if you're just getting started, that have people say, oh, you shouldn't do that, or why would you do that, or oh, go get a job, or go do this, right? And it's just bullshit. Fuck them, right? Like, are they getting the results you want? No. Now, let me give this context. If you're about to lose your house and you've got like 3 young kids, yeah, get a job and get some money, okay? And you know what I mean? Like, I mean, don't be dumb. Like, but in general, ignore the naysayers. My mom was sending me job applications for like 2 years after I started my job. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. Oh, here's one from Google. Here's one from Pandora. It wasn't until she literally came into Utah, came into my office. I think you've been to the office over there. And we had an office, it was like 5,000 square feet. We had like 17 people in there. She saw our big logo on the wall. She's like, oh, ever since then, she hasn't sent me a job.
You have a real
resume.
company. What do you know?
Yeah, she hasn't sent me a job resume. She's like, when are you buying me a house? When are you buying my casita? Right. But anyways, like, I was very blessed to have a father who introduced the idea of thinking big at a very young age. I was probably 11 or 12 when he started introducing me to Earl Nightingale and Jim Rohn and some of these, you know, just historic, amazing motivational speakers that I recommend everyone listen to. And not just to stay motivated, it's to open your mind, right? Because I always kind of chuckle and people, oh, I don't need motivation. It's like, okay, like, yeah, you're right. Most people don't, but like, you got to think big, you know, and most people aren't thinking big. And so I was very blessed to have that. And that really helped plant the seed that allowed me to really grasp onto and catch on to the personal development train and just take it further than I think he probably ever thought I was going to take it.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. It's crazy how much those influences affect us. And, you know, now that we're all grown up, we get to pick those influences, and we got to be very, very, very careful who we let in, how, where, for what, you know, like you said, you don't want to be taking money advice from broke people, fitness advice from unfit people. You know, there's a lot of noise out there.
And it's crazy. The people who are the brokest, the people the most, they tend to have the loudest opinions. Like, just don't listen to people on social media. Like, don't listen to people talk about politics. Don't listen to negativity. Don't listen to the news. The news is insane. Every day at the gym, you've got CNN on and you've got Fox News. And they're both like literally like complete opposites of each other. They're talking about the same event and they both have completely different ways of thinking about it. And if you don't realize that, which I don't know how, it fucks my mind that people don't understand that when they're watching the news, that it's all political propaganda. Doesn't matter what news station you're watching. Sorry if this is hurting some of your feelings, but it is. I don't care whether you watch CNN. New York Times is not an objective news source. Like, just stop pretending that it is. Neither is Fox News. None of this shit is, right? They're all there to make money off of you being angry. So stop watching them, stop listening to them, focus on the shit where people are helping you, bringing positive, bringing value to the world, bringing goods and services, making other people happy, make yourself happy, make your family happy, right? Just cut all negativity out. Like, I'm not afraid to cut family members off if they're negative. Like, I won't deal with negativity in my world. That was a major rant, but like, the news is destroying us all and it just pisses me off. I get very frustrated about that.
Yeah. And it's very much the opposite of what we already talked about so far, of controlling our days, controlling our narratives, being aware of our influences. Like, you know, because if everybody else is guiding you too much, you're not making your own choices. And
100%.
You know, at the end of the day, kind of go back to, okay, what has helped you build up all the stuff you build up is that the ability to really lean in, choose what you want, and make it happen, and like super optimize yourself and your influences to make sure that lines up. And I think that doesn't always hit with people enough, where they don't always take enough action enough around it. So for everybody watching, I would give you guys a challenge. You know, after listening to this, after watching this, think of one of the things that we said that you know you're guilty of, whether it's phone time, news, bad influences in your circle. Change one of them, however you see fit. If that means a little bit less phone time, that means not watching the news, whatever it is, make one change.
Yep. I think that we as humans completely underestimate just how the negative, shitty information that enters our brain actually affects us. I think we drastically underestimate that. And analogy that I like to use, and I've heard that works really well for me, and I'll share with others, is you essentially need to become a bouncer to your mind. And by bouncer, I mean, like, picture a bouncer to a club. They decide who gets in, who gets out, right? You need to be a protectant, and you need to have a lock and key on that mind and be very careful of what you allow to enter into your reality. because all of reality, our entire existence is based off where we place our attention. And if we're placing our attention on the negative, guess what? You're going to get more negative, and it's what you're going to see. So you need to be very, very cautious of this. And I really encourage you to not underestimate how much the negative stuff and all the, especially if we're talking news and media and all that is hurting you. But even like you said, family members, friends, picking up social media, thinking negative thoughts when you are scrolling through Facebook and Instagram and being jealous of other people or frustrated that you're not where they're at, whatever it might be, all of those things are affecting your state of mind and your energy levels, which in turn protect or affect your ability to go out and take action, which in turn affects your outcomes. And you're not going to get the outcomes you want if you don't have the energy. So like, it's very important that you really pay attention to this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And for everybody out there watching, let me know like what was shared so far, what part stood out, because you know, we're not just here to entertain you guys, we're here to change your lives one episode at a time. So you know, let me know what stood out, what action are you going to change, or what light bulb clicked for you guys, and let me know. I want to see what you're going to do about it. So what about you, Nick? Because like you're always evolving, learning, growing, making new moves. What's up next for you?
Yeah, great question. So recently so back in late 2019, I had sold a piece of my agency, a good chunk of it actually. I basically only owned 10% in a buyout arrangement, and I took a little bit of time off in 2020. Recently, I have decided that there's more opportunity in the agency world than ever before. So I'm back as a full partner. It was always one of my best friends, and we've always been on good terms. And so I'm pushing our agency extremely hard. I'm growing our agency consulting program, Agency Crusaders, and we are developing and churning out 6 and 7-figure agencies like clockwork. Because I basically just take what I'm doing in my agency, give them the systems, and it's working, right? Because I actually have an agency that I work in full time as a full partner on a regular basis, and I just transfer that over into our agency coaching programs. And on the side, I'm also planning on I'm getting into real estate investing, as well as looking into opening up a medical clinic, and really starting with one machine in one of our clients' locations, who's a good friend of mine, and looking to partner there, and with the idea of having multiple medical clinics here in the near future. So yeah, really working on a lot of stuff. I took some time off last year, I had some downtime, and I've been just getting after it, ready to rock and roll.
Love it. Yeah, I got to keep building up that empire. And yeah, so for everybody that wants to kind of connect with you, I'm sure there's a lot of other agency people watching. And guys, I personally vouch for Nick. I've you know, worked with him before. I've known him for years. So we don't just bring anybody on here and shout him out. He's not paying me anything like that. He's got some really game changing stuff. So I highly recommend you guys check him out. So where should we send people if they want to, you know, learn more about what you got going for the
Yeah, so the best place to find me is going on Instagram at Nik D Robbins. That's NIKD Robbins. I post on there. And then number 2 is I actually have a Facebook group where every Wednesday we talk. It's specifically for agency owners, but anyone can come in and you'll be able to learn a ton from there, right? But like I do focus on agencies, and we talk every Wednesday, and I share a lot of strategies, a lot of things. I have guest interviews. It's at 7-figure agency sales and marketing secrets Crusader Nation. So the easiest way to find it is actually here. I'll drop a link here too. I don't know if you want to drop it down on it, but the easiest way to find it is to search 7-figure Crusader Nation. That's with a K, because we have the Agency Crusaders consulting programs. We'll go out there. Yeah, we churn out 6 and 7-figure agencies. Right now, for anyone who's watching, I'm running the SaaS agency, and I've really taken what Go High Level has talked about and turned it to the entire next level. And we're really pumping out. I mean, we've been doing it for about 4 or 5 months now. We've had an enormous amount of clients we've sold onto it, and I'm sharing with everyone on the back end what we're doing. It's massively increasing retention. It's making it easier to sell, and it's increasing our clients' results as well using the SaaS agency model. If you know what I'm talking about when I say that. If not, then come over to the group and you can hear about the new agency model. That the reason why I'm back as a full partner and going all in the agency, and super excited about it.
Love it. And somebody else asked to drop a link for Agency Crusaders. So we got the group there too. But if there's you know, a link directly for any kind of you know, VSL program, anything like that, where should we send them?
Yeah.
And Amanda says Crusaders is amazing. So glad I joined.
Is that Amanda Brown?
That's Amanda Brown. Yep.
Amanda, what's up? Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I am. Let me grab it real quick. Yeah, and then if there's any other questions or anything, more than happy to. answer any questions too. Hold on. Sorry, I don't have the.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, let me know. If not, feel free to post them up. We can always catch them in the chat after.
I'm about to have the link. Sorry, guys. I don't have the top of my hand here. All right. Here we go.
Cool. So I get that one posted up for you guys. And as we get more towards wrapping up here, what do you think is some of the biggest advice you want to leave people with? Because you got so much good wisdom.
So here's
so much good results. Let's hear it, man.
All right. So there's really two things. Number one, understand that this is the greatest opportunity still by far for whether you're in agencies, coaches, consulting, online, digital products, we're still living in the absolute golden era. This is still the car industry in the early 1900s or the internet of the early 2000s. You are not late. There is not too much saturation. There's plenty of opportunity. More of the world's coming online. So the first thing I always like to eradicate is get rid of this idea that, it's too saturated. I'm too late to the game. Horse shit. You're not too late to the game. All right. Number two is execution, right? Go out there and take massive action. You will never feel ready. You will never feel prepared. You will never feel as if you have all the information that you need in order to get things done. And that's okay. I'm never ready, right? I always like to make decisions and take action based off having 40 to 70%. Now, you should have some sort of framework, but you're never going to have everything buttoned up, because guess what happens when you get out there in the game and you get out there, you're going to get hit in the mouth, right? And you're going to have to come up with a game plan and welcome to the game, right? So take massive action. Understand that the saturation is not real. Okay. Saturation can actually be a good thing. Opportunity is unlimited right now. I could have done just about anything with my marketing and sales skills. And I don't say that to be sound like an arrogant jerk, but like I know how to build funnels and I know how to do stuff I know how to draw inbound stuff and sell high ticket products and build funnels, right? But I decided to go back all into my agency because the agency has the biggest opportunity in the world right now, in my opinion, especially as the pandemic's opening up, and the ability to build a SaaS agency is game over. So those are the biggest things that I'll leave with people. And then one last thing, execution above all else. Okay. Execution. I know we talked a lot about my books and studies and readings, but here's the thing. My biggest fear is that people get on there and they have like this mental masturbation of learning, and they're learning during the work days. You're not actually doing action. You've got to do if you want to get there. So like, I'm always reminding myself, am I reading to get away from my action taking? Or am I reading to improve my action taking?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Love it. So, guys, make sure you guys all say thank you to Nik. He could be spending his time doing anything, hanging out in sunny Florida right now. He's spending it with us. So really appreciate you coming on the show, man. And I'm sure this won't be the last time.
Anytime, brother. Looking forward to having it back. Looking forward to hanging out soon as well. I hope everyone else the best of luck, and let's get after it. Let's close some deals.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks, man.